Hey guys! So sorry I went on that little mini hiatus. Things got very crazy over the last couple of weeks. We had midterms and half of my thesis was due, so school had to be a little bit more important at that moment, but I'm back. I have been reading and I finally finished the Anatomy series, so that means it's time for a review. The first book I have here is Anatomy of a Boyfriend by Daria Snedowski, and I was actually sent both of these by her and the publisher for review, and I'm so sorry that has taken me a long time to get to these, but I will explain that later in the video. So this first book, Anatomy of a Boyfriend, is about a girl named Dominique, or Dom, who has never ever had a boyfriend, even though she is a senior in high school. She is very academically ambitious. She already knows that she wants to go to med school, and so she's kind of been focusing on that aspect of her life, but one of her best friends, Amy, is very, very into boys and has always had lots of boys going at the same time, so Dominique kind of is a little worried that she's never had a boyfriend, and she's really concerned about going off to college without even having her first kiss. So when Dom goes to see Amy run at a track meet and happens to run into a super cute, hot, amazing, and nice boy named Wes, they kind of hit things off, and before she knows it, they are going out. The rest of the novel follows Dom and Wes's relationship as they navigate all of the awkwardness of first kisses, first sexy times, and all of the awkward. It's a very awkward novel. Okay, so thoughts. First of all, this should not be classified as YA. I think it is. I personally would consider this new adult simply because there is a lot of sex in here. It's very explicit. And that's not to say that it's done distastefully. I think that Daria has done a really good job about kind of talking about this, that no one really wants to talk about sex with teenagers, let's be honest. I mean, even when parents have the talk with their kids, it's this really awkward, like, please tell me you already know about this so I don't actually have to talk about it with you. So I do think that this book is actually good in an educational way, but I also think that because I know that some younger kids are now starting to read young adult early, I don't think that this is a book that they should pick up, and it's kind of misleading because it is like a Barbie. Secondly, I really enjoyed the writing style of this novel. I know that Daria dedicated it to Judy Blume, and I'm not sure if girls are still reading Judy Blume, but that's pretty much what I grew up on, so I really enjoyed it. It was very similar. It kind of felt like a Judy Blume novel that was all grown up and kind of even going further than Judy Blume went, and she went pretty far. It was like a first-person narrative. You kind of really got to experience all these firsts with Dom, and yeah, I don't know, I thought that was probably the best part of the novel for me. The thing that I didn't like about this novel is one that I'm a little bit confused about, and that's that it kind of went in and out of teen speak, because you were in this first-person narrative. There obviously were parts of it that were very kind of teenage specific in the tone, but at the same time, Dom is a very academic, intelligent teenager, so it wasn't super, I mean, it was like elevated teen speak, if that makes any sense. And then there was a lot of kind of email communication and text communication, which I thought was, again, very Judy Blume, very kind of my generation, what I grew up reading. That was where it fell flat for me, because the boy, Wes, he writes these emails and you're like, okay, a 30-year-old man wrote that. That's not, it didn't sound like a teenager, and I wasn't sure if that was part of the point of his character, that he's kind of a little awkward and he's kind of a little in his head. But that part kind of fell flat for me. Overall, though, I did enjoy this book. It totally brought me back to my own childhood, reading like Meg Cabot and Judy Blume, and I gave this one 3 stars. So before I move on to the second book, I do want to mention that on the back of the first book, it kind of hints at what's to come. It says, it was fun, it was love, and then came the fall. So you can kind of tell where the relationship between Dom and Wes is gonna go, so just be warned that that's what it says. That's not my spoiler. Before I go into the second book, which is Anatomy of a Single Girl. As the title suggests, Dom is now single. She's been through her first year of college, and we catch up with her on her way back home to Florida for the summer. She's a little bit worried about being home because she feels like all of the memories of her first relationship will come rushing back to her, and she's worked really hard over the year to kind of get over it, get past it, so she's a little nervous about going home and having that all come back to her. So hoping to distract herself, she takes an internship at the local hospital, where she happens to meet a very very intelligent, very attractive frat boy named Guy. There's an instant connection. They go out, and before she knows it, she's in this very interesting whirlwind, sort of not really relationship, but more of a, to put it politely, bed buddies relationship. I don't know, basically their whole relationship is about sex. So that's what this novel is about. Again, like the first novel, definitely should be considered new adult. If the first novel was awkward sex, this is, she knows what she's doing now, so there's a lot more detail. It's a lot, I guess there's a lot of just sexual discovery in this book, and there were a few real good moments where she kind of realizes, you know, like sex versus pleasuring somebody else. However, I really was disappointed with this novel as a whole, especially compared to the first book. I felt in the first book it was okay for Dom to be a little awkward, maybe a little rude, or just kind of hard to stomach because she was in her first relationship. She was in whole new territory. She didn't really know what she was doing. In this novel, however, I could not stand Dom. She had become this really self-absorbed person, and she was kind of manic in the sense that she could be loving and kissing this guy, one second, and then all of a sudden she'd be giving him an Indian burn or screaming at him for no reason when they're not actually in a relationship. I was really horrified, especially by how she treated her best friend Amy, who was kind of the, you know, freer one in the first novel, actually has a boyfriend in this one, and when she has problems, Dom is incapable of moving past her own problems to fully understand and help Amy the way that Amy has helped her throughout both novels. So that was just really frustrating to me. She was not a good friend. She's just incredibly selfish. Everybody in high school knows that one girl who's a little bit psychotic about her relationships, and Dom turned into that girl. Also, I feel like I should mention all of these tabs. I don't know if you can see these as I've been moving the book around, but all of these tabs are not things that I enjoyed about the book. These are all things I did not like, and I think there's about 10 of them, and then I have 3 on top of things that I actually enjoyed. I read Anatomy of a Boyfriend, I think, in a week, and then for the past 2 months I've been trying to read this, and it's really short, so there's no reason why it should have taken me that long, except for the fact that Dom was so annoying that I could only take her in small bits. Alright, well, that was my review for the Anatomy of a Boyfriend series, and again, I highly recommend this one. 3 stars. Just know the sexual content is in here, so if you're not ready for that or you're not old enough for that, maybe talk to your parents first. But other than that, highly recommend this one. This one ended up giving 2 stars. I think you should just stop after the first one, quite frankly. Alright, so that is it. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye! I freaking live in a jet path. What? I don't need to go back to high school. I got out. I don't need to go back there.